Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode here on Mayhem on the Mic. I'm your host, Sophia.
And Kim. How's everybody doing out there? All right, well, here we are today, and we're going to touch upon a few things.
Yeah, episode 2. Very excited.
Episode 1 was great.
Yeah, thank you everybody. That was wonderful, super fun. And we're here as promised. We're going to touch on a special little topic to us. And that is becoming a mom, but not just becoming, a mom, but becoming a mom in our teenage years.
Right.
And I think it's so interesting because, it's been 20 years since I became a mom.
About 20 years, yeah.
20 years. So I found out that I was pregnant when I was 18 years old, and I had my daughter when I was 19. Like, we're a few months off. So she's 20, and I'm turning 40.
Okay.
And I think you were around the same, right?
Around the same time, yeah. I got pregnant at 18 and delivered on my 19th birthday, actually.
Yeah.
My son's a day apart from me.
It's funny because somebody who watched like the last show was like, teen mom is between 13 and 16 or something like that, right? And they're like, if you're 18, you grown. You're not a teen mom anymore. And I was like, maybe, but we did some research.
Right, we did a few digging.
We did some digging because we wanted to be able to bring you guys some stats and factual information here, not just us like talking, like whatever. So we did some stats, and actually, according like U.S. stats, a teen mom is considered between the ages of 15 and 19,
which is actually when that person yesterday actually brought that up. I kind of said, well, in some people's eyes, 18, you are a grown woman, right? You're an adult. But technically, you're still a teenager.
Yeah.
The word teen is in that word.
Yeah.
So 19 is kind of your cutoff.
Yeah. And then when you turn 20, you're still just as dumb as you were when you were 19. You're just not a teenager anymore.
Right. You're not considered a teenager at that point. So therefore, according to stats, it's considered between 15 and 19. But everybody has their own idea of what a teenager age is. But yeah, and since then, according to stats, we've also were able to find out that since 2009, the number of births and teen moms have actually declined.
Every single year.
It keeps going down.
Births
which is
to teen mothers.
Amazing.
Has decreased since 2009. So we're doing something right. Let's clap that up.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important. Like, I know that some people personally that know us knew that we were going to come in and talk about this topic today. And they were like, make sure that you're not saying it's okay to be a teen mom. It's like, no.
Yeah, we're not saying that.
We're not co-signing that. But reality is that things happen.
Mistakes happen. If not everything in life is planned.
Right.
So therefore.
And that's real life.
Right.
And that's okay too. If it happens, there's options for you and there's support. And that's what we're talking about here. The options and the support, and your life is not over, and
life continues on.
You're okay. Things may take you a little bit longer.
Right. I was going to say it may be a little break for you to accomplish certain things, but that's just another obstacle for you to get over, and you'll be successful. You'll be just fine. We are just fine.
On most days.
We made out just okay. So
I think becoming a parent in general is super powerful. Like, regardless of your age, becoming a parent can be extremely powerful and empowering, and like you're responsible for a whole nother life. Like,
literally,
that's crazy, and it's fun, and so.
It's a roller coaster ride.
Balancing the dynamic. And I hate roller coasters.
But I love them, but not this roller coaster.
Not this type. Balancing the dynamic of, being a teenager, and most young moms are either still in school or finding work opportunities and career opportunities. And so now you're adding that new dynamic of raising a child. So it's a whirlwind of emotions.
Now, were you still in school when you got pregnant?
I was in college, yes. So I was in my first year of college.
Okay.
I was working, though. Like, I was working in a restaurant.
Yeah.
In college. And I was doing horribly.
In college?
In college. Like,
okay.
And I wasn't even, like, I was going to, like, an elite college. Like, I was in I was in community college.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with community college either.
There's nothing at all. But I was in community college probably taking the easiest courses I could have probably taken strategically, like, all right, let's see how I'm going to get this A. And then I found out I was pregnant and I stopped going to school.
Okay.
But I had an amazing, wonderful, supportive friend who had also had a child.
Okay, well, that made it a little easier.
Yes, and she had her son when she was 16. And, things were not super easy for her, but she also had, some support, and she ended up going to medical assisting school.
Okay.
So her son was probably already like 4 by the time I found out that I was pregnant. And then I was like, just kind of like talking to her for support. And she's like, why don't you do medical assisting school? Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't know that I want to be in the medical field. Because I always thought I was going to be.
She roped you in and got you in the medical field.
I know. 20 years later, I'm still in the medical field. But I really always thought that I was going to be in like public relations.
Okay.
I was like, I'm going to work in the city. I'm going to be cutthroat, like vicious woman in a suit. I'm like, this is me now. But
scrub life.
Scrub life. But I really would not have chosen it any other way. And I'm so grateful that she did, steer me in that direction. It was definitely a stepping stone. It gave me the ability to begin to re-educate myself.
Yeah, well, that's
and
great.
Find a good career and something that I'm good at. And it's just, it's gone from there. And I've found my niche and what I love to do.
You sure did.
And I did return back to school. I actually did go to college and I finished my associates.
Listen, you can always go back to school no matter how old you are.
Oh my God. And you should continue to educate yourself. I think that that's important. Like everyone, even if they're just like little courses here and there. Like,
yeah, it doesn't have to be actually full-blown degrees. It could be certifications and different like diplomas. It's good to all have. It all looks good.
Yeah, and I feel like the brain is like a muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. So as you get older, if you're not like
putting it to work,
really putting it to work, I'm telling you, even like speaking Spanish. If I don't speak Spanish on a regular basis, I'm like, like I just forget everything. But yeah, definitely keep educating yourself. Nobody can ever take your education away from you. Were you in school?
I actually had already graduated high school. I graduated early. I doubled up on my senior year.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was low-key like a nerd, kind of. I was always on my top of my studies and stuff. But yeah, I graduated early. And I had started college already. So I went back for my graduation. I was already a semester in college. But, and then I found out I was pregnant. And I did finish my first year of college. And I managed to do that. But then I actually, life happens, pregnancy, I couldn't do it. So I ended up I couldn't go back for the first year, had my son. But then I eventually did go back and finish. I was going to school for criminal justice. Okay. Completely opposite of what I do now as well.
How'd you get into medical?
I'm going to say, actually, what happened was, right?
What happened
was, let me explain. So I did criminal justice. I was going to become a cop. That was my thing, right? So I did the whole test. I did everything halfway through. I literally was like right there. I was going to take the polygraph test and the physical test. I found out I was pregnant with my second one. So, womp womp, there went that, right?
Oh.
So another little hold held back there. But listen, everything happens for a reason, right? So I had my second. It is what it is. Started working full time around the clock. And then I just kind of started looking into other things that I was like, criminal justice field, I love it. But with 2 kids, it really wasn't. I'm very hands-on, so I didn't want to miss a beat. And unfortunately, that field, it requires a lot of time away from home.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't want that. So I looked into other things, and the medical field was always a thought, just not my main priority. And I looked into medical assisting, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. So I went full-time during the day, worked overnight, and around the clock I did it in less than a year. And here I am 6-7 years later in the medical field, and I love it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want it any other way as well. I mean,
shout out to all the medical assistants out there, the true MVPs of the medical offices
that keep everything together.
Yeah,
you don't get enough credit sometimes.
It is a very demanding position. It is. You know what? I think it depends. I think it really depends. Like some doctors don't let you like touch anything. They're just like, just stand there.
And so nobody sues me. All.
Yeah, and then others are like, no, you're in there.
Do everything.
Yeah,
which can be a good thing. So
yeah.
So let's, but back on what being a teen mom, our experiences as well is like when you found out you were pregnant, right? what did you feel? Like, were you scared? Were you nervous? Were you like, oh, holy shit, my parents are gonna like kick my ass?
So this is okay. So when I found out that I was pregnant, first off, my moms are crazy. Moms have like crazy sixth sense. Okay.
Oh, they always know everything beforehand.
Yeah.
Like,
so I find out that I'm pregnant, and literally it's the first time that I go to a GYN.
right.
Okay. I find out I'm pregnant, and I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I'm like, my dad is going to kill me.
Scratch mom and dad.
I was not worried about my mom at all. I was like, holy crap, my dad is going to drag me. Like, the fear that's set in my heart.
I feel like also coming from Latinas, like Latino families, like, again, they don't condone it, but if it happens, they're not the happiest that it did happen.
My mother, shout out to my mother. My mother is the most supportive
That's
woman.
awesome.
Like, to this day, I was like, Mom, I gotta talk to you about something. Like,
See, and I love that for you.
Yeah.
I love that for you. 'Cause listen, I love my mom too, but I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
She's very old school. So she ended up being very supportive in the long run.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I mean, there's nothing you can do. I mean,
Right.
can I do something? Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was nothing that can be done. So she ended up having no choice but to be the greatest at that point. But
and I think
my mom was not with it.
Some parents are very forceful in making you make a decision.
Right.
When you're young and you're pregnant, and that's difficult as well, because I always feel like if I'm going to make a decision, I want to make it for me. I want to know that I'm the one who has to live with this decision. And parents sometimes may think that they're helping you make the right choice, but that's not really it, because that's when you start carrying a lot of guilt and a lot of burden and a lot of like, what if I would have done this differently? What if I would have followed my heart?
You might even get some resentment towards your child, and it's not done intentionally.
Right.
But
I honestly, for a long time, I used to tell people, like, I don't regret anything in my life. I don't regret any of my decisions, because they have taught me so much and they've brought me to where I am today.
100%.
And I'm so happy with where I am today. So I'm like, oh no, I would not change a thing. Even the hard, the really hard stuff. Like, it was really hard.
But if you don't go through any of the hard stuff, you don't learn anything.
Yeah.
Because if everything in life was simple, right, and everything was just an easy paved road, what are you learning? I mean, that's not defeats the whole purpose of anything in life.
So I'm laying on my sofa in my parents' house. All right. And now when you first find out you're pregnant, you're sick. You're like, morning sickness, you're tired, you're all that great stuff. So
Morning sickness, guys.
Yeah. So I'm laying there, and my mother walks up behind the sofa, and she leans over and she goes, "Are you pregnant?" What? My head, I was like,
I don't know what you're talking about.
what? Like, what superpowers do you possess? So, and I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, well, I think you should go to the doctor and find out. Meanwhile, I did already know.
Right.
Right? So, I go to the doctor, I find out, and my mom, I don't know if she devised this plan on her own or how this worked out, but she was like, all right, I'm going to tell your dad, but I want you to be away.
Oh,
so my
okay.
mother is one of 5 siblings. So her siblings like passed me around. So I went on vacation with one of my aunts, and then I went to go see one of my other aunts, and then I stayed at another one's house. And then I came home once, they told me like, yeah, she told him, and I don't know all like the details of it, but yeah, my aunts,
well, at least
they were like very supportive. Like, and I'm sure that it's not even that they were very supportive. Like, I don't remember them like ever like saying like, oh,
good job.
Like, yeah, no, they weren't like that at all. But they were like, we're gonna make sure he doesn't kill you, and then we'll deal with this after.
Right.
And my aunt Valerie was the one who taught me how to bathe my daughter. Like, she helped me give that first bath.
Nice.
And like they were just like they just always have been there for me. Like, the women in my family are just so strong and so supportive, and I'm really truly blessed to have them. So yeah, I remember my daughter being born, and my father didn't talk to me. Like, the whole pregnancy didn't talk to me. And I was like, eventually it was like, all right, what are we gonna do?
Right.
So my my daughter's father, his father was not in his life.
Okay.
So I knew that my father was going to be the only grandfather.
Right.
And that was important to me, you know. So I went to him one day and I told him, I'm like, you can hate me. You can not want to talk to me. I'm okay with that. But she didn't do anything.
Right.
And it's not her fault. And you're going to be her only grandfather. So if at some point you decide that you want to be a part of her life, go right ahead. Don't think that you have to ask me permission. You don't have to apologize. You don't have to say anything to me. You just go ahead and do that.
Right.
And he didn't really say anything to me at that time. But I just wanted him to know, like, I'm okay. You do what feels right to you. And one of my mom's friends came to visit when my daughter was born, and my dad still, like, hadn't, he was at the hospital when I delivered the baby. Didn't say anything to me. But, he came in the room. He looked at the baby. He looked at me. I was like, yeah, they're alive. We're good. And then one of my mom's friends came to visit and just, like, picked my daughter up and was like, take a picture. And, like, my dad's like,
what do I do?
and then took a picture. And that was the first time he ever held her or anything.
That's
and then
nice.
it was like, it was fine from there on. Like, he was okay. Yeah.
Well, that's great. You had your family support in one way or another.
Yeah.
They were there.
It took some time, but they came around,
Right.
and I had to suck it up. I had to suck it up. Like, they talk shit sometimes, and, you're going to hear some negative things sometimes. And you have to, I think, as that young mother, taking accountability is important.
Yeah.
If you went out there and you planned to do that and that's what you did, then also take accountability. Take responsibility for that and be prepared, because it's not going to be easy. And even if it was an accident, take accountability.
Listen, accidents happens, but then just own up to it. And that's it. You gotta it's not, this is a whole person, a whole human that you're bringing into this world. So you have to. But
how'd it go for you?
For me, it didn't go that well. I can say I didn't tell my mom till I was almost 3-4 months. I wasn't living with her.
I was probably around 3 months too.
Well, let me say, I wasn't living with her because I was living with my son's father. And me and her weren't on the greatest terms to begin with, relationship-wise, so we weren't really talking like that. She actually ended up hearing through the grapevine in my neighborhood, because everyone knows everybody from where I'm from. And I remember when I finally was going to talk to her, and we started, like, slowly conversating again and stuff like that, and she's like, do you have something to tell me? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, no. She goes, she calls me Kimby. So she'd be like, Kimby, what's going on? And I'm like, nothing. She goes, well, that's not what I heard. So at that point, when she said that, everything dropped in the pit of my stomach. Like I said, I was already probably 4 months. When I confirmed it for her at that point, what am I going to do? She lost it. So the little bit of progress we made,
it was gone.
Went right back to zero.
Yeah.
So I actually didn't end up talking to her again till I was probably 6 months. And how that came about was my sister, who's my older sister. Now, mind you, I'm the baby of 3. So, and I'm her baby in the sense where, my sister left the house, and
I'm the baby of 3 too.
And my brother, he's the middle child, and he's, doing his own thing. So I was always with my mom.
Yeah.
So for her, it hit her very hard. And I remember it was her birthday celebration. My sister was flying out from Florida. She was pregnant at the same time, right? And she's like, you have to show up at the house, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm not going there. I'm like, this lady is going to not open the door, slam the door on my face. And she's like, she won't do it if I'm there. Just go. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'll buy the cake.
Yeah.
Where's the cake? I'll pick it up and I'll take it. She's like, all right, fine. So I remember it was raining that day. It was like 8 o'clock at night, and I was scared as hell standing outside of the house. I'm in my car, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I wasn't really showing, your first pregnancy, you don't really show that quickly. Right. So, and I remember nobody had gotten to the house yet. So it was still like my stepfather, my grandmother, whatever. And I knock on the door. The music is playing loud. Knock on the door. My stepfather opens the door. And he's like super excited to see me, right? Come in, mija, whatever. And I'm like, shh, just like stop. You're being really loud.
Yeah.
And I go up the stairs, whatever. My grandmother's like ecstatic. And I'm like, okay, guys, this is supposed to be a surprise. Yeah. And she was in the room, my sister. And I texted my sister, I'm like, I'm here. And my grandmother was like, yeah. She's like, hide behind this wall. So I hide behind the wall, and I'm sitting there, and every emotion's going through me. And I'm like, she's like, I'm going to go get her. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm sweating everything. She comes around down the hallway, and she comes around, and I kind of just turn, and she just looks at me, and in my head, a million things went through, and I'm like, she's going to hit me. She's going to curse me out. She's going to tell me to get out.
This is 20 years ago, where parents definitely still used to smack the shit out of you.
And she did the complete opposite.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was because of her birthday, but granted, it had been months since we'd seen each other, even talked. Right. And she actually started crying, and she hugged me. And she said, I'm so happy you're here. And I felt such a relief and like weight off my shoulders that I was like, oh my God, this is actually really good.
Yeah.
And then, it ended up being great. And, now both her daughters were there pregnant. And now we're partying all night. And she's like the most lovable lady in the world. You would have thought we were good the whole time. And then she ended up at that point, we had the best relationship. She was there every step of the way. She was there in the hospital with me. Good. Like, I ended up moving back into the house, into the apartment there with her, because she's like, I want you here close to me. So I ended up getting that support that you had a little later. But she was there, and she helped me through a lot, through all of my firsts.
Yeah, I feel like if you are mentally stable as a parent, you want to see your kid, like, even when your kid goes through hard times. Like, we're parents now. We see, like, if our kids go through hard times, like, initially it can be hard, but you want to support them and you want to help them. And it can be very difficult to, like, okay, now I have to be mentally stable. I have to deal with my family and what they're going through in dealing with this, because
it affects everybody, not just you going through it. I mean, you're going through your own turmoil, but everyone around you gets affected by it also, because now everybody kind of feels that responsibility to either help you or you're going to either, you're going to float or you're going to drown. Yeah. One of the two. And, Hispanic families, unfortunately, I can say, depending on culturally where you're from, they can be very supportive. And, sometimes they can be very where they, they kick you out, that's it, and they don't even want nothing to do with you. Right. And now you're trying to look for help through other people, and sometimes go to the wrong people and go through these experiences and things that you never thought you would ever go through, or you might bump into that right person that's going to guide you. And sometimes even teachers in school may be that ideal person that's going to support you. So like I always said, and I said before, the least person that you even can think of will probably be that person that's going to help you through anything. So don't think you're out there alone being a teen mom. Listen,
it's okay not the worst thing in the world. And it's okay to talk about your feelings and your emotions,
You're allowed to. 100%.
Yeah, like, I think that I very much, like, held a lot in because, there was a level of disappointment in myself. Right. So I held a lot in, and I was like, I'm not going to burden anybody else with my mess up, with my, like, I'm going to try to make this as easy for my family as possible. And I started working right away. Yeah. And, I put school on hold for a little bit, and, eventually I did go, but I started working right away, and I started, just trying to not be a burden.
Yeah. Well, but, and also being, if you're still in high school, or even, if you're in, middle school, depending, God forbid, but, dealing with everything, and then now you're also dealing with friends, right? Because remember, you're still a kid. So you're still dealing with the regular daily high school, middle school drama, the friends talking about you. So as a teenager, right, it's a lot to handle. And mentally, either you're going to be strong for that or you're not.
I feel like you instantly become in a different place than your friends. So like
right away you're categorized.
Yeah.
somewhere else. Oh, she has a baby. Or she's pregnant. Or right away you get like these reputations.
Yeah. I mean, I have two very close friends that we have been friends since middle school, and we remained friends. And one of them after high school, she moved to Florida, and then the other one was here locally, and she was like my A1 babysitter. Like, she taught my daughter curse words, and I was like, my daughter would come home and like she would say something, and I'm like, I know Michelle taught you that. and we would just laugh about it, but like she wasn't intentionally doing it. We're young, and we're just like, we don't know. But I have to say those two were very supportive, and like, we're here, we're going to help you. Like, she was in college and she was babysitting my daughter in between like her class schedule. Oh, wow. And I'm like,
that's a great friend.
I'm like, literally, like, at my daughter's graduation, when she graduated high school, I'm like, you literally helped me get her here, you
Wow.
know, like you babysat her for me while you were in college. And then I had friends that I never heard from again.
See, I think for me, what helped me is my sister being at the same time pregnant helped me a lot, because we kind of, I kind of leaned on her more so.
Yeah.
Because it was her, he was her third, I believe. I think it was her last one, if I'm not mistaken. But whatever, she already had kids. So for me, it was my first. So having her kind of already have the experience was kind of nice, and we kind of went through it together, and our boys are actually a month and a half apart.
Oh, nice.
So it was actually like a good experience for me. So, and you know, I already had nephews. So when I having my son, I kind of already had the idea of what it is to, you know, have a kid, because I babysat my nephew since I was like 9 years old. Right. So I already kind of had the gist of what it is to take care of. So it felt very natural to me at that point.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a hard transition for me. You know, some may not have that easy experience, or don't have siblings to even know what it is to babysit or care for others. So the transition can be hard. So, you know, just take it easy. Listen, if you need help, open your mouth and say it. Don't be
There's
afraid.
so many programs now.
Yes, there is.
We were looking
I was like, where was this when I was pregnant?
I'm like, I could have used this back in the day, you know, like, damn, like I was working my little behind off.
Yeah.
I seriously, girl, like I picked up when my daughter started going to like nursery school. I started working overnight shifts in the hospital, and I was working overnight, and I don't know if I didn't have a car at that time, but like I was taking the bus home, calling a cab to take her to school, and then I would walk home because I didn't have enough money to like pay for another cab. So I'm like, let me get my exercise while I'm at it.
Get my steps in.
So I would take her to school, and then I would walk home, and I would sleep while she was in school, and then go and pick her up, and you know that whole thing. Yeah. But there's so many programs out now that are really helpful programs that I don't know if they existed back in the day, but
I mean,
the only thing I knew about was WIC.
Right. So WIC, you know, that for anyone who doesn't know, right? WIC stands for Women, Infants, and Children Supplemental Food Program. Right. So it's pretty much, it helps you get formula, and as your child, anywhere between birth and 5 years old, right?
Yeah.
This program, that's the time frame for your child to have.
They even while you're pregnant, they
provide healthy food for you
while you're pregnant.
It's to kind of keep you on a healthy and, you know, healthy foods. If you have, you know, if you have low income, even after you deliver, like again, your child, you can get this program till they're 5 years old, and they can assist you with fruits, vegetables, you know, beans and milk, eggs, cheese.
All the goodies, so, you know, just listen, you know, just supplemental, you know.
Supplemental, listen. So if you need, you know, that's a program to look into. If you're not aware of it, it's there.
I mean, we're in New York, but you know, and that's like all throughout our area. Right. But if you're in another area and you need help looking something up, like, and you're just not sure where to go, you can totally message us, and we can kind of investigate that for you and make some phone calls. Like, we don't even mind doing that for you. I think, you know, it's just important that if you do need help, that you don't feel trapped or stuck or, you know, hopeless. Right. You know, there definitely are options out there and help out there for you. So,
the other one we found, there's another one we found also. Also FYI, the WIC program, right? Stony Brook, they actually host every week virtual breastfeeding support groups.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's not just for, you know, after breastfeeding moms, even while you're pregnant. Like, they teach you how to breastfeed and all that stuff. So it's good things to know. My mom taught me how to breastfeed. That was quite the experience.
There was no teaching how to breastfeed, okay?
No, my mother, she was hands-on.
Yeah?
I think that's why with my second one, I was like, I am not doing any of that. I mean, granted, my first one, he wasn't having it
There was no discussion of if you will breastfeed for me. It was just like I think all the women in my family have breastfed, and so I didn't know any other way. So like here I was, but you know,
my mom was frustrated.
I was like,
my mom was frustrated because my first son, he did not want to have any parts of that, and she's like, you have to make him. I'm like, he doesn't want it. What do you want me to do? Yeah. My second one was like a beast. He was not playing game at all. Yeah. You know, every baby's different.
Every baby.
I mean, and in the hospital they push for it. You know, they kind of push back on it for a little while, and now me being back in the hospital, I see it, they're all gung-ho for breastfeeding.
Yeah.
So
definitely. So I have a question for you. Did you ever feel like a stigma or a burden, like in being a teen mom? Like, did you ever feel like people looked at you differently about that?
Yeah, I feel like people look down on it. They look at you like, you're careless, or, I don't want to, they look at you, it's just, how can I say, disrespectfully kind of in a way. Like you're just out there just being wild and don't care, and that's not it.
No, that's not.
Are there cases like that? Possibly, but in my personal, like, it was hurtful because, you're looked at like a failure.
Right.
And I'm not.
Right, no.
100%. Like, I may have to put a little bump on the road and whatever, but listen, it's something I can't get over. And I went to school for criminal justice. I went to school for medical assistant. I got certified as a phlebotomist. Like, I continued my education.
Yeah.
And my kids didn't stop me. And
I think
I hate to hear that too. Oh, because you have a child, you can't do anything. Life doesn't stop because you have kids. If anything, that's my motivation.
And it doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter your situation, because I see older women also that start to have children a little bit later in life. And then it's like this whirlwind of emotion and feeling like I'm not who I was my whole life. I'm this different person. And it's like, it's okay. Hormones are crazy. When you're pregnant and you have a baby, hormones are just like trying to figure themselves out.
Listen, it takes you about a good year before you can actually normalize everything in your body.
People are like, oh, they're like 3 months postpartum, and they're like, how do I get rid of the baby weight? I'm like, listen, it took 10 months to make that baby. You got to give yourself at least 10 months before your body is going to start returning. And 10 months is quick too.
That is quick.
And depending on your age, that's, it takes even longer sometimes, because I have my kids like 6 years apart from one another.
Yeah, my boys are 7 years apart.
Yeah, so it's like how I recuperated after my first one versus my third one.
Even being pregnant, that gap.
It's very different. It's very different.
My first pregnancy compared to my second, then to my third. Whoa.
Yeah.
3 different pregnancies completely. I swear I thought I have a boy, and then my second one was like, it's going to be a girl because it was so different. It was a boy.
Yeah.
And the third one, it was completely different. And I was like, oh, it's a girl. A boy.
A boy, yeah.
So don't fall for that either. Yeah. Those little thoughts. It was like, oh, if you have morning sickness, that's all fake.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, I also did carry like that little bit of a burden, and I always wanted to make sure like my daughter was like dressed to the nines.
100%.
Her hair was done. She looked good. She wasn't missing anything. And I think like in the end, I ended up overcompensating a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, once you break free of that, it's because I realized like, okay, I had my last one when I was 32, roundabout. And I was just like, this is still really hard. Like, this is, like,
get easier.
This is the same thing. Like,
I honestly feel like it might even be harder as you get older.
The only thing that I will say is being older, I felt like people respected me more.
Right, because now you're a full-blown adult. You're in your 30s. You're a woman.
And I tell people every time people are like, I don't, like, I'm turning 40. And they're like, don't say that. Don't say that. I'm like, I cannot wait to turn 40. I have life experience behind me. Like, I want credit for this.
Yeah.
And people don't respect that unless you're old. So I'm like, bring on the aging, like I want respect for that. Let's bring this to ahead here.
Yeah.
I think that, our takeaway here is, obviously everyone sees us here. We're talking about this. We're happy. We're healthy. We're thriving. You're going to be all right, okay? Your kids are going to be all right. You're going to be all right.
Everybody will be just fine.
The biggest thing that you need to do is never stop, like, pushing forward.
Right.
Never give up.
Gotcha.
Never give up. Keep pushing forward, and you have your dreams, your passions, your desires. You're going to have them at 18. You're going to have them at 25. You're going to have them at 35. You're going to have them at 50.
Yep.
Keep pushing towards that, regardless of what happens to you in life. Like, do your best to see the positive side of things, and it'll be okay. Like, you'll be able to work it out for yourself.
Yeah. And listen, like we said, the help is out there. So if you guys need any more information on any of the stuff that we touched up on, or you want us to find out, let us know. Shoot us a message, a DM.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have no problem. She has no problem.
No.
We'll look it up, because we, even though we have kids, we're not pregnant or anything, but we always like to know these things too, because they could be helpful to us in some way or another, right?
Absolutely.
So, and I feel like sometimes, just to kind of wrap it up a little bit, it's being a teen mom then kind of sometimes happens because we didn't even touch about like relationships.
I know.
Right. So really quick on that, sometimes you end up as a single mom, right? Not by choice. Just things doesn't work out, right? You're young at that age, things happen. But you can still be a single mom even as an adult, right?
Yeah.
And that's not by choice either.
Right.
Because let's be realistic here, we all want that family dynamic and the whole, mom, dad, home, household.
And even just being like a first-time mom, regardless of your age.
Whether you're 13
that first pregnancy is that first pregnancy, and woo, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
And everyone's, listen, when you get pregnant, you want to have a home.
Yeah.
Right? But things happen and life happens. So, it's okay to be a single mom also. So, just keep in mind that doesn't make you any less valid. Like,
right.
Like how we like to say.
Yeah.
You're not any less of a woman.
Any less valuable than any other woman.
Right.
And, there's support in numbers. So find your good circle, find your girls that support you or your guys, and stick with those people. The people that are being negative about your situation, the people that are dragging you down, release those people.
You don't need
Do
that
not
around
deal
you.
with that. You don't need that. You don't need
At
that
all.
at all. I look forward to discussing. That's going to bring us
to hear some feedback.
Yeah,
if anybody has questions, that'll be quite interesting.
Comment, send us a message, let us know if you have any questions. If we didn't touch enough, we only have so much time here, but if we didn't touch enough and you want us to talk a little bit more about this, let us know. We can come back another day. We'll be here. You know where to find us. So we look forward to next week.
Next week, same time.
Same time, same place.
Same place. We ain't going nowhere.
And we're going to talk about
becoming a mom
in general,
and as an adult.
Yeah.
And single parenting, because listen, it all intertwines somehow, some way.
Yeah. And dads out there, if you can, we're more than welcome. You're more than welcome to give us your perspective on this. Like, we don't have a dad up here with us. Eventually, we will. If you would like to be a guest on the show,
just let us know.
Let us know. Send us a message if you have something positive to bring to the conversation. And I think that's very
they
important.
do exist out there, single dads.
So if you have something to contribute to the conversation, message us, comment. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our clips. And we can't wait to see you next week.
Yeah, we'll look forward to it.
Yeah.
All right, see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.